The next kind of persistence, also pretty darn straightforward. As an attacker, I could just create a new user, right? So, and then if I create a new user, I could even do what I did before and add my key to their authorized keys file. This is one of these methods that requires me to have root. So here we're assuming that somehow I was able to compromise the machine and get root. If I want to create a new user as an attacker, I can say user add, I believe. And then, or maybe it's add user. Let's try add user. Add user. And I'll just say John. So now it asks us to set a password for John. So I'll just set a password of test, or T-E-S-T. And I'm not going to enter any information for John. And now if we look at etc passwd, it looks like we have this extra user John. I also would love to add John to the sudo group, because then John could use sudo to run commands as root. And since I am root anyway, and I can add John to the sudo group, I will do that. So I'll say user add. I think this is where I use user add. John, and the group I want to add them to, so sudo. Apparently that is not the syntax for that. Maybe it's add user John sudo. Okay, there we go. And now that added user John to group sudo. So if I print out etc group and I look for sudo, there's users. I am apparently blind, so I'm going to grep for it. There we go. You see that there are two members of the sudo group, and that's user and John. So if I were to switch to John, and I see what I can do with sudo, I know my password is TEST for test. I can run pretty much anything. And so the nice thing about this is also if I ever lose access as an attacker, let's say I completely lost access to the machine, now I can always SSH back in, but instead of SSHing as user, I'm going to SSH back in as John. And since I know John's password is test because I said it, I can say TEST, boom, and now I'm back in, and I can use sudo to run any super user commands. How do I stop this as a defender? Well, the best way to stop a new user that an attacker created is simply to remove that user, right? So if I look in etc passwd, we have this John user. And so I should be able to just say, I think it's del or user del -r, which also removes their home directory and everything else associated with that user. And then the username, which is John. Of course, I have to run this with sudo as root. And it warns me that user John is currently being used by process 3101. That's because I'm SSH'd in as the attacker as user John. So the first thing I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to kick out the attacker, and only then I can remove the user. So if I do ps-eo, we'll print out the process ID, we'll print out the user, and we'll print out the command line. We'll search for 3101. I'm also actually going to print out the parent process ID. There we go. So we see 3101 right there. It looks like John is logged in. So I can do sudo kill 3101. Hopefully that kicks John out. Now let's see if that's there anymore. No, it isn't. Let's just grep for John to make sure John's not running anything else. John still looks like they have access. So I'm actually going to start killing some more of these processes here. I'm going to kill 3098 should be the parent in this case. So if I do 3098, boom. Now John's not there anymore. And now I should be able to do a user del -r John. Again, running it with sudo, boom. And now we have deleted the John user. Going back to my attacking machine, you'll notice that I was successfully able to kick myself out. And now if I try to SSH back in as John with password test, it no longer works.